When you hear the job title agricultural sciences teacher, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's probably a pretty simple picture. But today, we're going to peel back the layers on this profession, and I think you'll find it's way more complex and demanding than you ever imagined.
No, really, just take a second. What's that image that pops into your head? Is it someone out in a field, maybe pointing at some crops, talking to a group of students?
For most people, yeah, the image is pretty straightforward. It's a job about teaching kids how plants grow. And, that's not wrong. But it's like saying a chef just heats up food. It barely even scratches the surface of what's really going on. Okay, so let's look at the official definition. Right away, you can see we're dealing with something much, much bigger. We're not just talking about plants. This covers agronomy, dairy sciences, fisheries, horticulture, poultry, even soil conservation. It's a huge umbrella right from the get-go. So what does a title that broad actually mean in the real world? Like, what does an agricultural sciences teacher do all day? Well, as you're about to see, it is way more than just standing up and lecturing. So first, you've got the things you'd expect from any teacher, right? They're in the classroom, preparing and delivering lectures on some really complex topics. We're talking plant genetics and soil chemistry. They're grading papers, running discussions, and this is a big one, advising students on their future careers. This is kind of the bedrock of the job.
But then the job just completely leaves the traditional classroom. They aren't just talking about science. They are actively doing it. They're out there supervising lab sessions and fieldwork, coordinating entire lab operations. And get this, even conducting their own original research and publishing it in professional journals. All of a sudden, your teacher is also a full-blown scientist.
And if that wasn't enough, there's this whole other layer of responsibilities, the stuff that happens behind the scenes. These teachers are also grant writers, fighting for research funding. They're serving on committees, advising student clubs, and sometimes even acting as a department head or consulting for the government. It's a massive portfolio that goes so far beyond just teaching. Okay, so we've seen the tasks, we've seen the to-do list, but what kind of thinking does it take to juggle all of that? This next layer is all about the mental gears that are turning, because this job is so much more than just knowing a bunch of facts. I mean, you can see how many different hats they have to wear. One minute, they have to be an analyst, breaking down complex data. The next, they're a communicator. Then a strategist, planning for the future. An innovator, coming up with new ideas. And a manager, organizing it all. Each one of those roles requires a totally different mindset. And this is where you see the job's incredible range. On the one hand, you've got the obvious, teaching others. That's what we expect. But on the other hand, you have something that might be a little surprising, hardcore data analysis. This shows that the role isn't just about passing information along. It's about dissecting it to find the real why behind the what. That's a true scientific mind at work. So, what kind of person can actually do all this? What does it take to succeed in a role this complicated? You definitely can't just walk in off the street. There's an essential toolkit of skills you need to build this type of professional. You can almost think of it like building in layers. The foundation, the absolute core, is communication. Speaking, listening, writing. Then, on top of that, you build an analytical engine. That's your critical thinking and problem solving. And finally, you add a management framework to handle all the resources, time, money, and people. You absolutely need all three layers for this to work. And to really get the level of thinking we're talking about, listen to how the source defines just one of the key abilities needed, inductive reasoning. It's the ability to combine pieces of information to form general rules or conclusions, and find relationships among seemingly unrelated events. Think about that. That's about connecting dots that nobody else even sees are related. That's a super high-level skill. Okay, so we've peeled back the duties, the mental activities, and the skills. Now we're at the very center, the core of the onion. This is the vast and varied foundation of knowledge that everything else is built on. The amount of knowledge required here is just staggering. I mean, of course, you need biology and chemistry, but you also need to understand education and training to be a good teacher. You need admin and management for all those other duties. You need practical food production knowledge. And on top of it all, a strong grasp of computers and electronics for modern research and teaching. It's a huge list. So we started with that simple image of a teacher in a field, and we ended up here. This person isn't just a teacher. They are all at once a scientist, a manager, a researcher, and a mentor, all rolled into one job.
Which kind of leaves us with a final, pretty big thought. When you have one job that requires this insane blend of scientific expertise, business smarts, and mentorship, you have to wonder, is this just an outlier? Or is the agricultural sciences teacher actually a blueprint for the multi-skilled teacher of the future? Something to think about. Thanks for digging into this with us.